Hi, this is Dennis with your stress management moment for choices. Today I want to talk about the two-headed dragon. That is jealousy and envy. Jealousy and envy are sometimes interchanged in our vocabulary as if they were the same thing, but they actually are not. They're two things that are very close and very similar, such as the two sides of a coin, but they are distinctly different. Let's start with envy. Envy is you have something, I want it. I covet it. I deserve it. I should have this. You shouldn't. Why don't I have this? Why do you have that and I don't have that? And it can be as simple as I want what you have, or it can be as complicated as, well, I don't want to take away from you, but I think I should get it too. And I'm angry at the person that gave you that because they didn't give it to me. And it can become more and more entangled in a web of self-pity and loathing and covetousness. It's a very powerful feeling. Jealousy, on the other hand, is that same emotion. It feels the same way, but it is, I have something and I don't want to lose it. I don't want you to take it away from me. I don't want it to leave. I want to cling to it. It's mine. Back in the 70s, there used to be a little poster that everybody had on their wall when I was in high school that said, if you love something, let it go. If it comes back to you, it's yours. If it doesn't, it never was, or something to that matter. And somebody else came up with a joke, said, if you love something, let it go. If it doesn't come back, hunt it down and kill it. And there are people who feel that way. There are people who actually commit horrible crimes out of jealousy. If I can't have you, no one can. Or I'm willing to do horrible things to keep what I have. Or the threat, even the mental threat of losing it. And envy is the same way. Envy is mentioned in the religious teachings of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and Buddhism, and probably others. Those are just the ones I've researched, where their teachings, caution against envy. The Old Testament and the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's whatever. That's what that means, is desiring something obsessively. So when you do that, obsessively desire something, it leads to the bad. So here's the bads it leads to. First of all, it leads to bad relationships. How can you be in a good relationship with someone if you're constantly angry when they receive some blessing in their life? Something good happens, then that hurts you. You don't like it because you should get that. I once knew a family full of brothers, and I remember now, I think there were 4 or 5 of them, but it was a big bunch of boys, all young men, and they were so jealous of each other. If one person got something, the other person had to get it. And finally, the oldest one, who made the most money, put a pool in his backyard, and it pretty much bankrupt the rest of the family because they had to have pools too, whether they could afford it or not. They just had this competitive envy that went on in their family. Don't know where it came from. They were all nice people, but yet they had that fatal flaw. And they didn't have a very good relationship with each other because they constantly played this game of one-upmanship. So envy leads to bad relationships. It also is jealousy. How can you be comfortable with someone who doesn't trust you, who constantly supervises you and watches over you and thinks you're going to leave them or thinks you're going to cheat? Or a child who's constantly jealous of the parent's attention, and they can't give a sibling attention or be nice to another child. They want all the attention on them all the time. And they feel like they're going to lose their parents' love if they don't control it. Because eventually this leads to a kind of abuse. We call it an abusive controller, where the person feels like they have to control everything you do because they can't be happy without you. And so they have to be in control of you. And it makes sense. If there was a button someone could push that would make you unhappy, you would guard that button. Well, that's how they begin to see objects and people around them as this thing they have to guard, or because it's vulnerable and they could very easily be made unhappy. They can't trust anything after a while or anyone. And that is a very difficult place, and that puts you into bad relationships. The next bad it brings about is just a bad life. You're never going to be satisfied if you let your life be ruled by envy or jealousy. You're always going to be unhappy. Always. Because, life will be dissatisfying, because I guarantee you will lose things in your life. You just will. We all do. You will lose relationships. You'll lose physical objects. Nothing is forever. Nothing is guaranteed. And part of life is that up and down of gaining and losing. It's just how life works. And if you're obsessed over keeping everything the same or controlling everything and everyone around you, you're not going to be a very happy person. And the same is true with envy. If you're constantly upset because someone got something you didn't get, or you're constantly unsatisfied with your life and you're desiring this other thing or this better thing or more and more and more, you're not ever going to reach a place where you're at peace. At some point, your life is going to become an obsession. You've got to let go of that feeling. If you don't, it leads to a bad life. It leads to a life of dissatisfaction. And the final bad that both these things lead to is bad actions. Talk to any detective. You'll find that envy and jealousy are two of the strongest motives for violence in our society. You know, a wise man said, you've heard people say, don't kill. I say, don't hate. If you don't hate, you're probably not going to kill anybody. And the same thing with theft. If you don't covet, you're probably not going to steal. If you're not jealous, you're probably not going to try to over-control or lash out and punish someone for your perceived betrayal. And all these things are common motivations for violence in our society, especially domestic violence. So jealousy and envy lead also to bad actions. They lead to bad relationships, to a bad or dissatisfied life, and they lead to bad actions that hurt others. Theft, violence, all are focused around protecting what I have or designing what someone else has. And we've got to let go of those feelings if we want to have a happy, balanced life. Well, that's been your Choices Stress Management Moment for today. My name is Dennis. I'm your host. Tune in again when we get together to talk about making a better life for ourselves. Thank you.